Hi everybody, welcome back to Mirrors. Last time, David had another mysterious vision about King Hroth, and then Eleno Vision finally ended their tour at the Royal Albert Hall of all places, which is a pretty sweet venue to end your concert, all things considered. And then, at the after party, David received a mysterious message from someone asking to meet him alone. What will he do with this information? Maybe we'll find out. Once the party was over, Susanna visited David in his room.
Phew! I'm so tired. That was a bigger party than I expected. Well, I'm leaving for my holiday tomorrow. This reminds me, when are you going back to your apartment? I'll help you clean up.
I'm getting out of bed late, so probably in the evening. You'd better steel yourself, though. I didn't tidy it one bit, so it's as messy as it was before we left for the tour.
Not bad, huh? Lucky for you, I enjoy cleaning. I'll bring some fresh ingredients, so we can have dinner in your room instead of eating out.
You're going to cook for me? I look forward to that. I'm not sure I'll even be able to fall asleep now.
But you have to. You'll have nightmares again if you don't rest properly.
David considered telling Susanna about the letter he received, but the sender said not to tell anyone. So, as I mentioned earlier, in a previous video, this game is supposed to have 7 different endings. Although if you're playing the FM Towns port, they removed one of them from that port for some reason, so there's 6 of them there. This, as far as I know, is the first major branching point, where the game diverges into different routes. For this first one, well, David's kind of an idiot. Why don't we lean into that and do the stupid thing? Speaking of dreams, take a look at this letter. Someone left it for me at the front desk. It mentions the Devil King. Blood drained from Susanna's face as she read the letter. By the end of it, her hands were shaking. Susanna? Is something wrong?
No, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired. Anyway, it does mention the Devil King. How would they know about your dreams?
I've wondered that myself. I've only mentioned it once to the guys during the tour. Maybe they told someone else?
Maybe it was a tabloid reporter who sent you the letter. They may try to write an article linking your popularity to an occult part or something. That would be very bad.
Those people know how to get a story out of you. You know what? I'm not going.
Agreed. If they were legit, they'd just come to talk to you directly. Unfortunately, when you're popular, you also attract a lot of weirdos.
You don't say. I'm glad I showed you the letter. With that load off my shoulders, I feel so sleepy now.
Between the concert and the party, I don't know how I'm still up and about either. I'll go home and sleep. Have a good night, David.
Susanna left the room. David lay down on the bed and fell asleep immediately. The following day, David woke up around noon. He was still anxious about that letter. Without receiving any further communication from the sender, he prepared to leave the hotel. Susanna opened the door and walked into the room.
Are you ready, David? I've already brought all my stuff home, so once you're done checking out, we can have a real vacation.
Whoever sent me that letter never contacted me again. I guess they weren't serious after all. Let's go, Susanna. After leaving the hotel, they took a cab to David's apartment. After tidying up the room, Susanna started cooking as she had promised. This is probably the first time this room is filled with such a delicious smell. I usually just heat up some instant meals.
When would you like to leave for the countryside?
I'm ready when you are. I suppose it's best to leave ASAP. 2 weeks don't last that long.
How about tomorrow? Hayworth isn't very far from here. We can go there by car. And by car, we can take as many detours as we want.
I like that. Fewer people will see us travel. It'll be more relaxing. Yeah, let's go by car.
Alright, it's ready. Sit down. I've made your favorites.
Wow. This looks and smells amazing. Would you do this for me every day if we got married? David, you've known Susanna for less than a month, and also she's your manager. Calm down, buddy. David opened a bottle of champagne and made a toast to their vacation together. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. David's first night of the vacation passed wonderfully, without a single nightmare. Possibly because Susanna was sleeping right next to him. The next day, around noon, David's car left the M3 motorway, entering the A30 road. They were being tailed by Clark and Vince. Well. Who knew David and Susanna were an item? We could make a boatload of cash selling pictures of their vacation together. That's only as long as nobody else finds out about it. At any rate, they're supposed to be heading for Hayworth, like in the Wuthering Heights, but why aren't they taking the A6? If you're on the A30 on your vacation, you're probably going to Salisbury. You know, Stonehenge. Stonehenge, huh? A fitting spot for the Devil King. By the way, it turns out that Susanna's mother is known in some circles as a sorceress and fortune-teller. And Susanna's hobbies include fortune-telling as well. Now that you mention it, all the people she met during the tour had something to do with divination. Maybe David's ring has something to do with it. He has no special interest in fortune-telling, but he does like that ring. It wouldn't surprise me if our client was connected to that stuff, considering how concerned they are about it. Are we getting involved in some kind of conflict between white mages and dark mages? Well, let's drop the case, Chief. I don't like occult stuff. We're professionals. We can't drop a case once we take it. With that said, this contract only covers David's vacation. I'll turn down any further requests. As the sun began to set, David and Susanna arrived in Salisbury. Instead of staying at the luxurious Red Lion Hotel, they parked their car in front of the smaller Cathedral Hotel. Shortly after 9 p.m., they left the hotel and entered the A360 road. The headlights of their car shone light on the road as they drove through vast fields and pastures lit by starlight.
They won't let you inside Stonehenge during the day. It's much better during the night. It's quiet and there's nobody around. We can stand in the middle of Stonehenge and look at the stars.
I've never been to Stonehenge. I'd like to someday. Who knows when that's happening, though? I've been to Stonehenge before, but never during the night. I feel like it would be pretty ominous without lights.
There's fewer fields around. We must be getting close.
The headlights of the car illuminated the megaliths of Stonehenge. David parked the car at the end of the paved road. Though there were no artificial lights, those enormous boulders, arranged in a circle, were clearly visible under the starlight. It was like a scene from a fantasy world.
This is the center of Stonehenge. Look, David. If you turn south, you can see a very bright star in the gap between the stones.
You can see the stars from here too. Maybe it's because there's no moon tonight, but the sky seems covered with stars. It's like we're floating in space. Standing near Susanna, David looked up, towards the southern skies. He could only see the stars above him, however, as the huge stones were covering the view south. Where's this gap you mentioned? I can't see anything south.
You see that cavity in the stones in front of you? Look at the top of the stone sitting above, and connect it to the top of that other stone. Try crouching a little.
Loud sound warning, by the way. Whoa! That's definitely a bright star. I'm surprised I didn't notice it earlier. What star is it?
That's the Belmare comet. It approaches Earth only once every 300 years. It should be at its closest in a week. Its apparent magnitude is about 5, so it's not particularly famous.
Is it really only 5? It looks as bright as the moon to me.
That's only because you're seeing it between the stones. Even this way, I can barely make it out. You must have an exceptional eyesight.
When I look at that star, I feel like I can sense the power of the universe itself. What happens during our concert seems so small in comparison. The universe is amazing.
Gazing at the stars is romantic, but I can't do what you do. What's it like, sensing the power of the universe?
I don't think I'm doing anything special. You're not thinking I'm going to change into the Devil King, are you? I'm still the same as ever.
Would it be so bad, though? As the Devil King, you could fly among the stars. Then you could hold me and we could fly together, like Superman or Peter Pan.
David and Susanna were both laughing happily. After a while, their car left Stonehenge. Clark and Vince emerged from the shadow of a megalith. They walked to the center of Stonehenge, where David and Susanna had been standing a few moments earlier. They turned their eyes towards the southern sky. I think I see it, Chief. That Belmare comet Susanna was ranting about. It just looks like any other star, though. Was astronomy one of Susanna's hobbies? I've never heard about this Belmare comet once in my entire life. What about you? I barely know about Halley's Comet. Is it that strange that Susanna knows about it? Nothing weird in chatting about stars while stargazing with your boyfriend. Clark looked around, as if considering whether to inspect the area or not. Eventually, he and Vince got in their own car and left Stonehenge. In one of the hotel's double rooms, Susanna was sleeping peacefully. David, who was sleeping next to her, woke up and looked around the room. Did someone call out to me? It was a man's voice, so it couldn't have been Susanna. David. Whoa! Someone's calling my name! David. Who are you? Show yourself! I am King Hroth. I live on in your blood. The star of darkness is calling. The time has come for the Devil King to return. The voice was loud and clear, as if it came from within the room. David looked around, but there was nobody else besides him and Susanna. By laying your eyes on the blood of the northern tribes, my blood shall seal within your veins, and the Demon King shall be reborn. That is only possible now that the Star of Darkness shines upon the earth.
Are you saying I have the blood of the Devil King? I don't care about that. I'm fine the way I am. I don't want to become a devil.
That will not do. The King of the North will hunt you down and kill you in order to sever the bloodline of the Devil King. The battle has begun the moment the Star of Darkness first shone upon this planet.
There's no such thing as a King of the North in this day and age. You've only been showing me nightmares and visions of vengeance from a time long past. I mean, and even if there were a King of the North, I can't just kill someone.
You have been exposed to the light of the Star of Darkness. Your power as the Devil King is already manifesting itself, and the Northern tribes took notice. By denying your call as the Devil King, you are willingly accepting death.
My power as the Devil King? Enough of this nonsense!
David shouted loudly, waking Susanna up.
What's wrong, David? Who are you talking to?
The sound of Susanna's voice brought David back to himself. He could no longer hear King Hroth.
You're sweating like crazy. Did you have a nightmare?
It was neither a nightmare nor a vision. I was talking to King Hroth himself. He said the blood of the Devil King flowed in my veins. I don't want to believe it, but I think I have to accept it.
King Hroth, you say? I didn't hear anyone. I knew it. You possess amazing powers that no one else has. What did he tell you?
He said that now that the Star of Darkness is close, I must lay my eyes on the blood of the Northern tribes, awaken as the Devil King, and have my revenge upon the King of the North. But I'm not a murderer.
The Star of Darkness from beyond the end of the universe. The Belmare comet? If that's the case, it would be at its closest point 1 week from now. Did he mention where to find the King of the North?
No, nothing about it. He only said that because I've already manifested the power of the Devil King, the Northern tribes will come to kill me. Listen, Susanna, I think it'd be best if you returned home alone.
No, I can't live without you. The Susanna from your visions always remained at her king's side. I want to do the same.
This has become one hell of a vacation. And nothing about that sentence that you just said rang as out of the ordinary to me at all. Seemed perfectly fine. Nothing suspicious whatsoever. What's going to happen to me if I become the Devil King? Will I be able to keep singing? My priorities are in order.
Cheer up, David. Here, take this pill and get some sleep.
David took the pill and calmed down, falling asleep in Susanna's arms. David and Susanna left the hotel early in the morning, taking the A30 road to Bath.
I grew up in Hayworth. After my mother passed away, I was raised by her dearest friends, Mr. and Mrs. Lance. I'm sure they'll treat you well.
Do you really think the Northern tribes could come looking for me? This is the modern age. We have the police, for one thing. Yeah, fat lot of good they're gonna do you.
Think about it. Those nightmares, those visions you have, those aren't natural. If the Devil King is real, then so is the King of the North.
We just passed Bath. If we take the M5 motorway, we can stop for lunch in Bristol.
Good idea. We haven't had breakfast, so I'm feeling a little peckish.
David parked the car at the Maxwell Plum restaurant in Bristol. Is it just me or does Bristol sound like a food? As he and Susanna sat down at a table, Clark and Vince entered as well, sitting down at a nearby table.
Thank God we stuck that bug on their door. They usually wake up in the afternoon, but they left the hotel early in the morning. I wonder what happened.
When I mentioned the Belmar comet, our client kept asking for more details. Then they told me to keep a closer eye on David. Something's definitely up.
I don't like this, Chief. Call me paranoid if you want, but there's been weird murders around us ever since we've been on this case. It's like wherever Susanna goes, someone ends up dead, even if she's not involved.
Maybe I should have one of my friends in the business investigate the client. It should be fine as long as he hasn't dropped my name. The phone number the client's using could be a good place to start.
Please do. To know the enemy, know your allies. Or something like that.
Alright, I'll call him. You keep an eye on our couple. Clark left to make a phone call. While Clark was using the phone booth, Susanna herself walked towards it, waiting for her turn. After finishing his call, he waited until Susanna was looking away to return to his table unnoticed. Once Susanna came back to her table, Clark went back to the phone booth one more time, returning shortly after.
Nice job with the bug. Let's rewind this baby and find out who she was talking to.
I'm lucky I had this wiretap with me. I wasn't expecting her to make a phone call right after me.
Let's hear it already. I feel weird just looking at the tape.
I'll listen to it for— Damn it, they're leaving! David and Susanna paid their bill and left. Clark and Vince left in a rush. Both cars were driving along the A30 road. As it was a working day, the road was clear, and the cars were moving at a fast pace.
Why don't we listen to the tape, Chief? Nobody will be able to hear us here.
Clark started playing the tape. Though unclear due to the noise, voices could be heard.
I'll be there later today. Tell the others to meet me at the predetermined location. There's no doubt that David has inherited it, but we have yet to— Where are you now? The northern tribes could make a move any time now. You must hurry. About the northern tribes, David hasn't noticed yet, but the two detectives are still following us. Have you found out anything about their client? We've managed to take a picture, but our mark has managed to elude us. Then we'll let them roam free for the time being, until we know the identity of their client. We may have another chance soon. Talk to you soon.
The conversation ended there.
She was talking to a woman. The two detectives. That's gotta be us. So Susanna knows we're tailing her. What do we do now?
I get it now. Remember when she was waiting around near the Tower of London? She was confirming her suspicions. Well, since they know about us, I guess we can investigate with impunity now.
It looks like they're headed for Hayworth. It's too far away to reach it within the day, though. They'll probably stay somewhere along the way.
We'll find out soon enough. Anyway, it looks like Susanna's friends are also looking into our client. And they mentioned the northern tribes. David's car left the highway and entered Stratford, the birthplace of William Shakespeare. They drove through the countryside, along the River Avon. Rather than entering the town, David's car took a small road that followed the Avon Canal, a small agricultural waterway tributary of the River Avon. Finally, they reached a farmhouse in the middle of a large field. Susanna knocked at the door, and they were greeted by a couple in their 50s. David and Susanna were greeted with a smile and invited inside. Clark and Vince stopped their car and watched from a distance. However, they did not seem to get out of the car. Susanna introduced David to the couple.
David, these are Gerd Holly and his wife Harriet. We used to visit them often when my mother was still with us. We were on our way through the countryside, and when I thought about you, I wanted to see you again. Would you mind if we stayed for the night? You can stay for as many days as you'd like, sweetie. It's just the two of us here. We could use the company. Mr. Gerd, are you still studying magic?
I'm nowhere as good as your mother was, but people still come to me to have their fortunes told, even if they don't always come true. And for some reason I have a southern accent. I guess I'm just gonna roll with it. How about you?
I had to focus on my work, so I pretty much forgot all about it. I'd like to study it again once I have some free time.
Whoa! You used to know magic?
My mother was a sorceress, you see. She was pretty famous, so I used to imitate her. I could never touch lizards and frogs, though.
The Susanna from my visions was also a sorceress. If you're her descendant, you might be able to become a first-rate sorceress yourself. Harriet called out from the dining room.
Dinner's ready. It's simple countryside cooking, but it's definitely better than what they serve at those fancy restaurants out there.
Before they knew it, the table was covered with dishes. Mr. and Mrs. Holly were intently listening to David as he talked about his life in the music world. Their dinner continued late into the night.
Why don't we go out for a walk, David? There's no pubs and neon lights around, only fields. But I guarantee it's the freshest air you'll ever breathe.
David was indeed tired of talking, and wanted to be alone with Susanna, so he agreed. David and Susanna went for a night stroll. As they walked along the path in the field, they could hear the sound of water flowing through the canal. The canal could be crossed over through a small bridge. David and Susanna leisurely walked over it. Susanna, I remember this place. It was in one of my nightmares. We were attacked by two men, and then they stabbed you, and you fell in the river. And now there's two men beyond the bridge, just like in my nightmare.
They're getting closer. Do you think the King of the North sent them?
In my nightmare, there were two men behind us as well. We had nowhere to run. Susanna, would you mind checking behind us? Checking, even.
It's too dark to tell, but I don't think there's anyone there. At least that's different from the nightmare. Watch out, they're approaching us.
The two men approached them, glaring at David. They pulled out knives and attempted to stab him. David twisted his body, dodging the knife, and grabbed the man's arm. The man spun in the air, falling square to the ground. Seeing this, the other man approached David more carefully, while the first one picked up his knife and got up again. Afraid for their lives, Susanna screamed,
Help! Someone help us!
Susanna, go call Mr. Holly!
I can't! There's two more men on the other side! It's like your nightmare!
David shivered as he saw two more men running their way. The two assailants ran away the moment they noticed the two figures approaching. Susanna turned towards the two men approaching them. who turned out to be Clark and Vince. Hey, you okay? Those guys had knives.
We're fine, thanks. For a while, we thought you were with them.
Do we look like murderers to you? Don't answer that. We heard a scream and we came running.
It could have turned real ugly real fast. I'm grateful, I mean it.
Do you mind telling us what brought that on? Those men were armed. We should inform the police.
I don't know what to say. They didn't say a word. They just took out their knives and assaulted us.
They must really have it in for you.
This is my first time in this town. I've never done anything that would make people hate me to death. Are you with the police?
Nah, I'm just curious. Maybe they just figured a couple walking alone in the night would be easy to mug. Anyway, be careful on your way back.
Susanna thanked Clark, holding David's hand tight as they left. Clark and Vince stayed there a while, making sure nothing else happened.
My gut tells me the purpose of our investigation is giving someone the info they need to find and kill David. We better find out more about our client before they take away our license.
Chief, could it be our client is related to those northern tribes, and that they believe David is a descendant of this devil king? I mean, who else would want him dead?
There's no proof of that, but it might very well be. As much as I hope not.
David and Susanna returned to the Holly household. They did not mention the incident. The rest of the night was luckily uneventful, and there were no loading screens for the narrator to cut out. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you next time for more mirrors.